On my birthday, my parents threw a surprise graduation party for my twin sisters. The tiny happy birthday banner was hidden behind their massive congrats grads garwayer decorations. My mom laughed when I froze at the doorway. "We're killing two birds with one stone," she announced proudly. I nodded silently and took my seat as my sisters opened $300 gift cards while I got a $25 Starbucks voucher. When I stepped outside to make a phone call, they didn't even notice I left. They had no idea what was coming next. I'd been looking forward to this dinner all week. My 28th birthday isn't exactly a milestone, but after the year I'd had, promotion at work, finally paying off my student loans, I thought maybe, just maybe, my family might actually celebrate me for once. I'd even dropped hints about my favorite restaurant, which surprisingly my parents had agreed to. When I pulled up to the house instead of the restaurant, I was confused but figured maybe they were planning a surprise before dinner. The moment I walked through the door, my stomach dropped. Blue and gold streamers, my sister's university colors, hung from every corner of the living room. A giant "Congratulations Graduates" banner stretched across the wall with a small, clearly last-minute happy birthday sign tucked in the far corner like an afterthought. My twin sisters, Amber and Ashley, stood in the center of the room in matching dresses, surrounded by relatives and their friends from college. My mom rushed over, enveloping me in a quick hug before immediately turning back to my sisters. "Surprise!" she exclaimed, though I couldn't tell if she was talking to me or everyone else about my sisters. "We thought it made sense to combine celebrations. Your birthday and the girls' graduation. Isn't it perfect?" I stood there, clutching the small gift bag I'd brought for myself, a tradition I'd started years ago when I realized nobody else would get me what I actually wanted. Ashley caught my eye and smirked, whispering something to Amber that made them both giggle. My dad appeared with a beer in hand, patting me on the shoulder. "Hey, kiddo, grab a seat. We're about to do the cake and presents." The cake, as it turned out, was a massive sheet cake with "Congratulations, Ashley and Amber" written in large fondant letters. My name was squeezed into the bottom corner in what looked like hasty piping, almost as an afterthought. As everyone sang a confused mixture of "happy birthday" and "congratulations," my sisters blew out the candles before I could even get close. Then came the presents. My sisters opened envelope after envelope, each containing gift cards worth hundreds of dollars, promises of trips, and even a set of keys to a used but decent car from my parents to start their post-college lives right. When it was finally my turn, my mother handed me a small envelope with a $25 Starbucks gift card inside. "We know how much you love your coffee," she said, already turning back to my sisters, who were showing off their haul to their friends. I nodded, tucked the card into my pocket, and quietly excused myself to step outside. Nobody noticed. As I closed the front door behind me, I pulled out my phone and made a call that would change everything. Updated. Wow, you guys. I wasn't expecting this post to blow up overnight. Reading your comments has been both validating and overwhelming. Many of you asked about the phone call I made outside. I promise I'll get to that. To those saying I should have made a scene right there, trust me, I considered it. But I've learned that sometimes the quieter the reaction, the more devastating the consequences. Have you ever found that revenge served cold is more satisfying than an immediate explosion? This pattern wasn't new. My whole life had been a backdrop for my sister's starring roles. When I graduated college, with honors while working full-time, my parents forgot to attend because Ashley had a minor cold. When I got my promotion last year, my mom asked if I could help pay for Amber's spring break trip in the same breath as her half-hearted congratulations. The real kicker? I'd been financially supporting my entire family for the past 2 years. After landing my job in finance, I started helping with small things, groceries, utility bills, when my dad was between jobs. But those small things quickly snowballed. I was now paying 75% of their mortgage, all of the utilities, and even my sister's remaining college expenses that their scholarships didn't cover. Every month, like clockwork, money left my account to keep their lives comfortable. Meanwhile, I lived in a modest apartment, drove a 10-year-old car, and carefully budgeted to make sure everyone was taken care of. My sisters had no idea. They thought our parents were funding their cushy lifestyles. My parents preferred it that way, telling me it would just upset the girls to know we're struggling. They weren't struggling. I was just subsidizing their poor financial decisions so they could continue pretending everything was fine. I'd tried addressing the inequality before. Last Christmas, when they gave my sisters each a new iPhone while I received a scarf clearly bought from a gas station, I finally spoke up. "Do you realize how this looks?" I asked quietly after everyone had left. My mother's response: "Don't be so materialistic. Your sisters need more support than you do. You've always been the independent one." That was their excuse for everything. I was the responsible one, the independent one, the mature one. All code for the one we don't need to consider. Meanwhile, at 24, my sisters were still treated like delicate children who needed constant praise and support for accomplishing basic adult tasks. Graduated college after 6 years with barely passing grades. Throw a party. Finally learned to do their own laundry. Call grandma to brag. Managed to schedule their own doctor's appointment. Family dinner to celebrate their growing independence. I kept telling myself that things would change, that eventually they would see me, really see me. But standing outside on my birthday, watching through the window as they celebrated my sisters while my presence wasn't even missed, something inside me finally broke. Not in a sad way, in a clarifying way, like the moment when you finally admit a relationship is over and feel nothing but relief. What nobody at that party knew was that I had actually taken the entire day off work. I'd spent the morning setting up a surprise of my own. I'd paid $1,200 for catering and decorations at my favorite restaurant for a birthday dinner I thought my family was organizing. The restaurant had called twice already, wondering where everyone was. As I stood outside my parents' house, I called the manager. "I'm so sorry, but I need to cancel everything," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Family emergency." The manager was understanding, but reminded me the cancellation fee was still 50%. $600 down the drain. As I ended the call, a text from my best friend Zoe lit up my screen. "We're all at the restaurant. Where are you guys? The cake looks amazing." I closed my eyes, the pieces finally falling into place. Zoe and my other friends were waiting at the restaurant because I'd told them about the birthday dinner my family was planning. They'd assumed it was a surprise for me, not realizing that my family had completely forgotten and double-booked with my sister's graduation party. Standing there, another memory surfaced from last week. I'd stopped by my parents' house unexpectedly to drop off some groceries and overheard my sisters in the kitchen. "Mom said we can invite whoever we want to crash her birthday dinner," Ashley had said, laughing. "It's not like she's going to care if we turn it into our grad party. She never complains." "Plus," Amber had added, "she'll probably end up paying for everything anyway. She always does." They'd known. They'd purposely planned to hijack my birthday, and my parents had actively helped them do it. And they were right. I had ended up paying for everything, just not in the way they expected. I looked down at my phone, scrolled through my contacts, and found another number. 3 rings later, a gruff voice answered. "Hey, Mr. Peterson," I said to my parents' landlord, who was also coincidentally my landlord. "Remember that conversation we had last month about the house? I think it's time we finalize those details." As Mr. Peterson and I talked, I felt strangely calm. I'd been paying 75% of my parents' rent for 2 years through direct transfers to him, an arrangement we'd set up when my dad lost his job. My parents had never told my sisters, preferring to maintain the illusion that they were the providers. Mr. Peterson had always been grateful for my reliability, especially since my parents had been notorious for late payments before I stepped in. "I'll need to stop the automatic payments effective immediately," I told him. "And yes, I understand you'll need to inform them of the change." After we hung up, I stared at my phone, the reality of what I was about to do finally hitting me. For years, I'd been the family safety net, constantly putting my own life on hold to bail everyone out. I'd skipped vacations, delayed buying a new car when mine was practically falling apart, and even put off needed dental work, all so that my parents could maintain their lifestyle and my sisters could enjoy college without the burden of part-time jobs. "This is what financial abuse looks like," my therapist had told me 3 months ago when I finally opened up about my family situation. "They're using you as an ATM while treating you as an afterthought." I'd defended them then. Now, standing outside the house that I essentially paid for, watching them celebrate my sisters while ignoring my birthday, those words finally sank in. I made 3 more calls in rapid succession. First, to my bank, where I canceled all automatic transfers to my family's accounts and credit cards. Second, to a storage facility I'd researched last week during a moment of clarity, where I confirmed the unit I'd reserved just in case. And third, to the family lawyer who had been helping me quietly document my financial contributions to my family for the past 6 months. Another just-in-case measure I'd taken when doubts first began creeping in. With each call, I felt lighter, as if I was shedding years of obligation and guilt. By the time I walked back into the house, a strange calm had settled over me. I smiled at my relatives, accepted belated birthday wishes from people who'd barely noticed me until now, and watched the celebrations continue. In my head, I was counting down the minutes until everything changed. Updated. Thank you for the overwhelming support in the comments. Many of you have shared similar stories of family dynamics, and I appreciate knowing I'm not alone in this. Some have asked why I continued supporting them financially for so long. The truth is, it's complicated. Family obligations can feel impossible to break, especially when you're conditioned from childhood to be the responsible one. And yes, I did finally call the restaurant back and arrange to meet my real friends there later. The story continues with what happened when reality came crashing down on my family. Do you think they deserved what happened next? Or did I go too far? The doorbell rang at precisely 7:23 p.m., just as my sisters were opening their final graduation gifts. Two police officers stood at the door with Mr. Peterson slightly behind them. My mother rushed forward, confused and a little panicked. Officers? Is everything all right? She asked. We received a noise complaint, ma'am. One officer explained. We also have Mr. Peterson here who says he has some urgent business with the homeowners. My father appeared beside my mother, his face flushing slightly. Peterson? What's this about? Whatever it is, can't it wait until tomorrow? Mr. Peterson stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. I'm afraid not, Jim. There's been a significant change in your rental agreement that requires immediate attention. By now, the party had gone quiet. My sisters stood in the living room doorway, their friends peeking curiously around them. My father invited Mr. Peterson in, clearly trying to minimize the scene, while my mother asked the officers to excuse the noise. We'll keep it down, she promised. It's a special occasion. Our twins just graduated college. And it's your other daughter's birthday, the female officer observed, nodding at a small happy birthday sign nearly hidden by graduation decorations. My mother blinked as if just remembering. Yes, of course, that too. As the officers left, Mr. Peterson pulled out a folder from his briefcase, spreading documents across the dining table that still held the remains of the graduation cake. My name was visible on several pages. What's going on? My father demanded, his voice tightening. Why is her name on our rental documents? Mr. Peterson looked surprised. Jim, she's been paying 75% of your rent for the past 2 years. The automatic payments have been stopped as of today. I need to discuss your new payment requirements going forward. The silence that followed was deafening. My father's face went from confused to angry in seconds. My mother's hand flew to her mouth, but it was my sister's expressions that I'll never forget. Pure shock giving way to disbelief as they processed what they'd just heard. That's not possible, Ashley said. Dad pays the rent. Right, Dad? My father couldn't look at her. My mother found her voice first. This is obviously some kind of mistake, she insisted, glaring at me. Tell him there's been a misunderstanding. I smiled slightly. No misunderstanding, Mom. I've been paying most of your rent, just like I've been paying the utilities, the cable bill, the car insurance, and about half of the girls' college expenses. The color drained from my father's face. We were going to pay you back. You know things have been tight. For 2 years? I asked quietly. Things have been tight because you keep spending money you don't have. The cruise you took last summer? I paid for that too. My sister's friends were inching toward the door, sensing the private family drama unfolding. One of my aunts stepped forward, confusion etched on her face. Is this true, Jim? Has she been supporting all of you? Before my father could respond, I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen a few times. I've just sent each of you an email with a detailed spreadsheet of every payment I've made on behalf of this family for the past 2 years. It totals just over $87,000. The gasps were audible. My oldest cousin whispered, "Holy shit," under his breath. That's impossible, Amber said, looking frantically at our parents. Tell her she's lying. My mother tried a different approach, her voice dropping to a pleading whisper. Sweetie, we weren't hiding anything. We just didn't want to burden the girls with our financial problems. You understand that, right? You've always been the strong one. Yes, I have been, I agreed. And now I'm being strong enough to say that I'm done. As of today, I've moved all automatic payments to an escrow account. I've paid my last bill for this family. The implications were starting to sink in. My father looked pale as he glanced at the documents Mr. Peterson was still holding. You can't just cut us off, he said, trying to sound authoritative but failing. We're family. Family doesn't use each other as ATMs, I replied calmly. Family doesn't forget birthdays or turn them into celebrations for the favorite children. Family sees each other. Ashley stepped forward, the reality of the situation finally hitting her. But our car payments? Our credit cards? Our phone bills? All being paid by me, I confirmed. Until today. What about our graduation gifts? Amber asked, gesturing to the pile of opened presents. Are you saying Mom and Dad can't afford these? My mother's silence was answer enough. My father looked at the floor. You'll need to return the gifts, I said gently. All of them. Dad charged them to the credit card I pay for. The chaos that followed was both terrible and vindicating. Ashley burst into tears, screaming that I was ruining the most important day of her life. Amber started frantically texting, probably telling her friends she'd have to cancel their post-graduation trip. My parents argued in harsh whispers, blaming each other for letting the situation get so out of control. My Uncle Mark, always the most sensible member of the family, approached me quietly. "Did you just decide this today?" he asked. I shook my head. I've been planning an exit strategy for months, but yes, seeing them turn my birthday into yet another celebration for my sisters was the final straw. He nodded slowly. "For what it's worth, I think you're right to stand up for yourself. But what happens now?" "I've already arranged for a storage unit," I replied. "I'm moving my remaining things out tonight. I've paid next month's rent for them as a courtesy, but after that, they're on their own." As I spoke, I noticed Mr. Peterson had finished his explanation to my parents. My mother was openly crying now, while my father looked shell-shocked. The reality of their financial situation, without my support, was finally sinking in. "You're really moving out? Tonight?" my uncle asked. "Actually," I said, picking up my purse. "I moved most of my things yesterday when everyone was at work. I just need to grab the last few boxes from my room. The movers will be here in about 20 minutes for my furniture." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from the moving company confirming their arrival time. The party had completely dissolved now, with most guests having made awkward exits during the confrontation. Only family remained, watching in stunned silence as I walked upstairs to my childhood bedroom. I heard footsteps behind me and turned to see Ashley following me up. Her mascara streaked down her face. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded. "Just to humiliate us?" I paused, hand on the doorknob of my room. "No, Ashley. I'm doing this because for once in my life, I need to put myself first. I've spent years supporting all of you, and you couldn't even give me one day, my birthday, without making it about yourselves." "But what are we supposed to do now?" she asked, her voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt a strange mixture of pity and resolution. "The same thing other adults do, Ashley. Get jobs, pay your own bills, live within your means." I entered my room and closed the door gently behind me, leaving her standing in the hallway. Through the door, I heard her whisper, "But I don't know how." That, I realized, was no longer my problem. 6 months later, I celebrated my half-birthday at a rooftop bar with friends who actually remembered my birth date. My new apartment wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Really mine. Without the financial burden of supporting 4 additional adults, I discovered I could not only afford a comfortable life for myself, but also start building serious savings toward the future I wanted. A lot had changed in those 6 months. According to my Uncle Mark, who still kept in touch, my parents had been forced to downsize to an apartment half the size of their previous home. My father had finally taken a job he'd previously considered beneath him, and my mother had started working part-time at a local department store. They were adjusting to living on their actual income for the first time in years. My sisters had experienced the biggest shock to their systems. With their credit cards suddenly maxed out and no more automatic payments clearing them, they'd each been forced to find jobs right out of college, something they'd planned to think about after taking the summer off to travel. Ashley was now working as an assistant at an insurance office, and Amber had taken a retail position at the mall. Based on their social media, which had grown dramatically less glamorous, they were sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 other girls. I hadn't spoken directly to any of them since the night of the party. My parents had called repeatedly during the first month, alternating between angry accusations and tearful pleas. I'd let their calls go to voicemail. Listening to their messages evolve from demands that I stop this childish behavior to increasingly desperate requests for financial help. When those went unanswered, the calls eventually stopped. But last week, something unexpected happened. I received a letter, an actual handwritten letter from Ashley. No demands, no accusations, just a simple acknowledgement of reality. "I never realized how much you were doing for all of us," she wrote. "I'm sorry for how we treated you, especially on your birthday. I'm learning a lot about real life now, and I understand things I didn't before. If you ever want to talk, I'd like that." I hadn't responded yet. I wasn't sure if I would. The trust that had been broken wasn't something that could be repaired with one letter, no matter how sincere. But it was the first time in our entire relationship that Ashley had seen me as a person with feelings that mattered, and that felt like progress. As I sipped my birthday cocktail, surrounded by people who valued me for who I was rather than what I could provide, I reflected on the most important lesson I'd learned. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop. Stop enabling, stop sacrificing, stop accepting the unacceptable. The world doesn't end. People adjust. And you, finally, wonderfully, get to breathe. My phone buzzed with a text from Ashley. "Happy half-birthday. I remembered." It was a small thing, almost laughably small compared to everything that had happened. But it was something. I put my phone away without responding and rejoined my friends, who were arguing good-naturedly about where to go for dinner after drinks. Whatever the future held for my relationship with my family, I knew one thing for certain. I would never again allow myself to be rendered invisible, especially on my own birthday. The greatest gift I'd given myself was permission to matter. And that, unlike everything else I'd ever given my family, was something they could never take away. Updated. I never expected this post to reach so many people. Thank you for all your supportive comments and for sharing your own stories of family dynamics and financial boundaries. It's been 8 months now since everything changed, and I remain firm in my decision. Ashley and I have had coffee twice. Awkward but civil. My parents still haven't acknowledged their role in what happened, instead painting themselves as victims of my sudden cruelty. The most surprising development? My sisters are actually doing better with real jobs and responsibilities than they ever did when everything was handed to them. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to stop protecting them from reality. I've been asked if I'd do it all again knowing what I know now. The answer is absolutely yes, but I would have done it years earlier. Have you ever had to cut someone off financially for your own well-being? Was it family? And did you regret it?